Welcome back, dear friends, to Whispers of Turkish Stars, the place where heartbeats outshine headlines and where stories linger long after the credits roll. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe so you never miss moments that go beyond the screen. And if you want to support us directly, tap that join button, it helps us keep bringing you the stories that matter. Tonight, we enter a chapter seldom told, a story not of rivalry or spectacle, but of a quiet kind of bravery, the courage to feel. This is the untold, intimate thread woven through the lives of Barış Arduç and Elçin Sangu. In the relentless rhythm of Turkish television, where a glance can echo for months and a pause can turn into a rumor, Elçin always seemed to move differently. Graceful, measured, gentle, and yet guarded. She had a way of holding her boundaries like silk, soft to the eye, impossible to pull apart. Admirers praised her calm and her dignity, and they were right. But even the stillest waters hold hidden tides. Beneath that serenity, something had been waiting, not demanding attention but asking, quietly, to be heard. It happened away from the red carpets and the flash of cameras, behind a door that closes with a hush and invites truth to come in. In a therapist's office, where voices settle into themselves, Elson began a journey that wasn't meant for the public, wasn't part of a brand, and wasn't content-ready. It was personal. Deeply personal. A close friend confided that therapy wasn't a trend to her, it was a choice born of necessity. She wanted to meet the feelings she had carefully folded and tucked away. Feelings tied, inevitably and tenderly, to a name the audience had held dear for years, Barış Arduç. Their story was never just a storyline. From their days on set, audiences felt it, that rare spark that doesn't ask for belief, it simply exists. The chemistry looked effortless, unforced, the kind that makes even silence feel like dialogue. People whispered. They connected the dots. Yet both of them stayed quiet, leaving the truth to dwell in the shadows, choosing dignity over speculation. Until something shifted. One afternoon, those who later glimpsed the therapist's notes said the room felt weightless when her voice finally moved toward what she had avoided for so long. No theatrics. No sweeping declarations. Just the fragile honesty of a woman who had run out of ways to pretend it didn't matter. And then she said his name. The admission didn't arrive like thunder, it trembled, real and unadorned. When her therapist asked why she had never put it into words before, her reply came soft enough to almost dissolve as she said it, because naming it felt like endangering something she still held close even if it didn't exist in the same form anymore. That single idea floated through social media like a hush before rain. People wrote that love, when true, doesn't vanish, it changes seasons. Others said her words reminded them that silence can tell the truth too, that sometimes bravery has tear-stained cheeks and speaks only when it's ready. If you believe that honesty is its own kind of strength, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Whispers of Turkish Stars. We're here not just for the famous, but for the feelings that make them human. Let's return to the quiet storm between Elson and Barış, a whisper that outlived the noise. Those same notes reveal the session went deeper still. She described a single night etched in the corners of her memory. The last time she saw him. She said she let him go without giving voice to the words piling up behind her ribs, trusting the space between them to carry the message. She thought the silence would speak on her behalf, that he would know. Only later did she understand what silence can do. It can shield a heart, yes. But it can also leave a mark. Far from the spotlight, Barış had been walking his own path of reflection. Known for his restraint, for measuring his steps rather than rushing them, he, too, had been revisiting corners of his past. In a recent interview, when asked about old loves and the lessons they leave behind, he offered a single line that felt like it belonged to a much larger story, that some truths travel only from one heart to another. No translation. No explanation. The phrase sounded poetic to some, but to many it felt like a thread pulled from something deep and particular. Was he speaking of Elson? That question, predictable as it was, still felt electric. People close to him later shared that when he learned of her private confession, he sat quietly for a long time. He didn't rush to defend, to deny, or to dramatize. He waited. Finally, he said something that felt like a circle quietly closing, that she had always been braver than he was when feelings were on the line. He didn't share those words on a stage or in a post, but they traveled anyway, not like gossip, more like a truth passed carefully from hand to hand. It wasn't about reigniting your romance. It was an acknowledgement of a light that never fully disappeared. There was also a message we're told she wrote, not a grand letter to the world, just a simple reaching out, meant for him alone. In it, she wished that he would never carry her memory like a scar. She wished him well from a distance. She called him both shelter and thunder, the safety and the storm, two sides of a truth only the heart can hold at once. When this detail surfaced, curiosity softened. It was no longer a question of whether they would reunite, it was about how two people release each other with tenderness. It was about closure, and the way it can be a gift rather than a door slamming shut. Tell me, dear friends, would you have done what she did? Would you unlock that old room just to fill it with fresh air? Or would you keep the door closed and trust time to blow through the cracks? Share your thoughts in the comments, we read them all, and your voices are the heartbeat of Whispers of Turkish Stars. Whether they met afterward is a story nobody can confirm with certainty. Some say he asked for time, not out of indifference, but because hearing every unspoken truth takes a kind of strength you have to gather slowly. As the days stretched, fans sent messages like lanterns on a river. One wrote, "Sometimes closure doesn't look like coming back, it looks like a conversation that lets the heart breathe again." That note felt like an echo of her journey. Healing isn't always reunion. Sometimes it's a blessing spoken from afar. A close friend of Barry's offered one last confession that drew a quiet line under everything. She taught him, the friend said, how to love without asking for a receipt. And if time could be rewound, he would never let pride speak louder than the beat of his chest. Stripped of glamour, those words touched anyone who has held regret like a weight in their pocket, invisible, but always there. It reminded us that the apologies we never say can be the ones we carry the longest. For Elson, therapy became a passage, not back to the beginning, but forward to a softer ending. Witnesses from later sessions recall a moment that seemed to untangle everything. Her therapist observed that the deepest lovers are often the ones who bruise each other without meaning to, because they hope to be known without needing to translate themselves. At that, she cried. "I wanted to be understood without having to draw a map," she whispered. Those who watched her leave that day said the air in the room seemed lighter, as if something that had been holding its breath finally exhaled. Later, she told a confidant that perhaps this was what she had been seeking all along, not a new chapter with him, but peace with herself. Not another sunrise together, but a dusk that didn't ache. The most unexpected turn came from Barry's, not in the hush of an interview, but under bright lights, with an award in his hand and a crowd waiting for a line worth remembering. He paused, smiled in that restrained way of his, and said, "Some stories don't close, they simply learn a different way to breathe." The audience clapped for the poetry of it, but those who knew their history heard something else, a gentle bow toward her, a small truth wrapped in grace. Love that was real doesn't end, it changes shape and finds another rhythm. Soon, old clips of their scenes returned to timelines, surfacing like bottles from the sea. Fans filled comment sections with thoughts that sounded like prayers and goodbyes. One wrote, "Not every love has to return to be true, some loves just have to stop hurting." Maybe that's the heart of this tale. It's less about lighting the old flame and more about learning how to hold the warmth without the burn. Love does not always circle back. Sometimes it loosens its grip and lets both people step forward without bitterness. And this is where we leave their story for now, not with sorrow, but with gratitude for what they gave us, a reminder that even the loves that remain unspoken can leave light behind. If this story found you where you needed it, please like the video, subscribe to Whispers of Turkish Stars, and if you wish to help us keep telling stories that reach past the screen and into the soul, tap that join button to support our work. Until next time, may your heart learn its own cadence, and may every goodbye bring you closer to understanding yourself. This is Whispers of Turkish Stars, where love, loss, and truth find their voice.